Why you should not buy an iPhone 6 in 2019. That video is coming up right now. Let's go. So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. Why you shouldn't buy an iPhone 6 in 2019. Now, this video's title inherently will trigger people. However, this video was not designed to trigger you, but if it does, well, then that's your own problem because I can't control your emotions. If you can't have a civil conversation about tech and keep it positive, you're on the wrong channel. Next up, if you haven't been around this channel before, every year I offer up my advice on iPhones as well as other phones on which ones to buy in that calendar year. The reason I do this is because before I was doing tech videos, I remember when I would save up and buy a phone that was 2 years old, 3 years old. And for some people, the iPhone 6 might be one of those phones that they want to buy as a side phone just to try out iOS. If they've been an Android user forever, it might be a quick $100 and they can get this. Or maybe somebody will pass it down. If somebody passes it down, go for it. It's not a big deal. But I'm talking about somebody who's like, let me buy that phone right now in 2019. Here's my reasons why I don't think that's a good idea. Now remember, when I say why I don't think it is, why you should not buy, this is an opinion. I'm telling you right now, this is a subjective video. My take on it, why you should trust me, is because I used pretty much every flagship phone in the past several of years, the best of the best. Okay, so the first reason I would not recommend the iPhone 6 in 2019 is mostly the RAM. So 1 GB of RAM equals terrible multitasking. Not to mention that iOS doesn't really do any type of way of taking advantage of the screen. You're also going to have issues with reload. So if you're doing a couple of things at once, say you got to go into the browser, copy and paste something, hop in between apps, you might get more reloads than what you're probably expecting. So one app at a time is basically your usage on the iPhone 6. Many things will reload and they might fool you, as Apple likes to take a screenshot on iOS here to make it look like it's open, but some apps will not be open. So for me, the RAM management is pretty abysmal here for the iPhone 6 in 2019. And that's my first reason why I would not recommend buying this phone if you're going to purchase one now. My second reason is that 2 other iPhones exist at near the same price point. That would be the iPhone SE and the iPhone 6s if you're looking for a phone to try out iOS on the low. Now, the iPhone SE right here, I'm going to go ahead and show you the iPhone 6's prices. They're ridiculous for how old this phone is. And mostly that's because of that Apple logo. Apple devices, you can sell them for higher than they're worth years down the line, making it a very good reason to buy an iPhone if you want to get your return on your investment. $160. I've seen iPhone SEs for $99, and this is a much better phone to me than the iPhone 6 is. You can scroll down, you can see they just have ones, even ones people are selling for $205. I mean, what person in their right mind is going to pay $205 in 2019 for the iPhone 6? Now, I'm going to show you on Amazon that also $184 for an iPhone 6 refurbished. This is not even a new iPhone right here. $189, we're at about $200. And we're not even going to mention the Android options on the market. You already know who they are. You got Motorola phones, we got Honor phones, Xiaomi phones, and other countries, there's other newer brands that are popping up and have some nice cheaper options that are much faster, much more higher tech in terms of the specifications than this phone. But one of the big ones is the 6S, because the 6S is just a much more refined version of the 6. It has come down significantly in prices, and you're probably only going to pay $30 to $50 more to get this now at the same place that you would get the iPhone 6. Like if you buy it third party, you're going to probably pay around the same price to get a 6S. So a much better build, much better camera. And actually I could still use a 6S in 2019 and I'd probably be fine with that phone for at least a year or two. My next one is the camera is definitely lacking here in 2019. 8 megapixels is not a very detailed photo. However, Apple's image processing does give you a pretty acceptable image. Most people will be okay with its imagery. Now we do have lighting in here, so it looks incredible here on camera, so it's trying to show me up, but it's mostly the lighting in here. Low light performance is abysmal for the iPhone 6, and it doesn't have any option to shoot 4K. Now you might say like that's not that big of a deal, but the iPhone SE at a cheaper price point and the 6S at about the same price point depending on where you look, both have 4K video and both have much improved cameras over the iPhone 6. So I think the camera is getting way too dated here Most phones don't have an 8 megapixel camera anymore. That was years ago. So I would say this is a good reason not to buy the iPhone 6 right now, is it's older and getting pretty dated camera quality. Okay, this next one is pretty not good. This is the battery life. The battery life, okay, let me say one thing. On iOS 12, it got better than 11. But still, if you're actually using this phone, I can watch the percentages just go down as I'm using it. It's pretty bad here for the iPhone 6 when it comes to battery life. That's mostly because it has a really small battery and the processor is not as efficient as the newer chips. Like I say though, if you had an older version of iOS, 12 does improve it a little bit, but this one and the 5S are two iPhones that are older that really suffer in this department. So battery life overall, and if you find one of these that are used, you might not even have an up-to-date battery with a maximum capacity of 100. And mine has 100 and I still can watch the percentages dip on this battery. So overall, the battery life is not that great here for the 6. It'll get you through half a day and then you're going to be charging this device. And speaking of battery, one thing I noticed is that when you're charging it, this phone gets really hot compared to any of the newer iPhones, for example. And even in usage, I find that the heat dispersion on this phone is just bigger. So what I mean by that is that you'll feel it getting a lot hotter than other iPhones, especially when gaming or doing anything intensive. You're gonna feel the heat come through the body of this aluminum iPhone 6 right here. Another thing is you're investing in a product that has minimal return. The iPhone 6 is gonna keep dipping in how much you can sell it for. As I said earlier, people are selling it for higher than it's even worth right now. This phone, I think, is worth about $75, to be quite honest, to $100 at this point in the game. However, people are selling this for like $200, which is ridiculous. If you buy one now, use it for a year or two, you're likely only going to get $100 or $75 back. So you're basically getting no return on an iPhone 6. So buying this, you're buying it as a toy, you're buying it to use it, not to sell it off, because you're not going to get much back at all on this, and probably less than you bought it for. In 2019, as smartphones become an overall utility, something that's not super exciting anymore, but more of something we just need, we demand things that we haven't demanded before, and that's really great battery life, great camera, and a good amount of RAM so we can run our things swiftly and multitask and do what we need to do to get our business and life done on the day-to-day. And the iPhone 6 doesn't really nail it on any of these categories now. When it first came out, it nailed it on a few, but it doesn't anymore. For example, it doesn't have great RAM for multitasking. The camera is not stellar. You're going to be able to tell it's not a high quality camera. Also, the battery life is pretty terrible for this iPhone in my experience. It didn't drop too much in this video because I wasn't opening up basically any applications. Sitting on the home screen is not going to drain too much battery. And mostly its biggest problem is other offerings from, people that are aggressively pursuing the lower end of the market, such as the Honor phones, the Motorola phones of the world. Also, we have companies like Blue. We also have companies like Huawei and Xiaomi and other brands coming out that are just aggressively putting out products that are pretty good at under, $300. And for $200, the iPhone 6 just seems silly. So that's it. That's my overall take. I'm not saying this is a bad phone if you're still using it because you bought it a while ago when it was really good, and iOS 12 is pretty impressive that you even have the latest software. That's a good thing. And for a basic phone, like for people who are not into smartphones, this could actually be fine. But I'm talking about those of you who care about your phone and want a good phone in 2019. I cannot recommend this one. The 6S is a much better recommendation, as is the SE. Those phones are also old, and there's probably better Android competitors than these two as well. But at the same time, if you want to get into Apple and you want to do it on the low, these are probably these are the low, not like the iPhone 7 or the iPhone 8. This is like the low. These two right here would probably be the way to go. What are your thoughts on the iPhone 6? Do you think it's worth it? Do you have one and you think everything I said is just baloney? Go ahead and comment that down below. If you found this video helpful, entertaining, informing, do me a favor and click that like button for me. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Enjoy your iPhone 6 if you still have one, but probably don't get one. I will catch you all in the next one. Be sure to be well, and peace.